gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive. Build, Lead, and Thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.
Welcome to Build, Lead, Thrive, Voices of the Androscoggin, a bi-monthly podcast featuring conversations with people shaping our region and the great state of Maine. I'm your host, Susan Rulin, President and CEO of the LA Metro Chamber, and I'm joined by our wonderful producer, Mr. Mark Turcotte.
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm excited about this conversation because it's flower season.
'Tis the season.
And we're all starved, as Mainers, we're all starved for that lovely time of year. Although I feel a little bit behind, but we'll get to that. Anyway, together we sit down with business leaders, creatives, entrepreneurs, and community builders to hear the stories behind their work, what inspires them, and what they've learned along the way. And today I'm so pleased to welcome Lily Krietzberg, founder of Seeds to Smiles.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
So Lily, tell us a little bit about just quickly what you do, and then
Yes.
we're gonna switch gears a little bit and learn a little bit about who you are as a person. But just give us a quick little overview of Seeds to Smiles.
Happy to. So Seeds to Smiles is a garden design, installation, and consultation company that focuses specifically for organizations. So not so much backyard residential gardens, but gardens at places like schools, hospitals, nursing homes, restaurants that have a little pocket of outdoor space and have maybe wanted to use it differently, but don't really know how. So in short, in a concise way, that's what I do.
In a short, concise way, you
Yes.
make things prettier,
more abundant, more functional, more beautiful. Yes.
It's very happy work, it strikes me.
Yes, thank you.
I first got to meet you at a Brewing Connections event, I think like the first week that I started.
Yeah.
And I remember we had the most meaningful conversation, and I was like, that's a conversation I want to explore more. She's really cool. And
Oh, thank you.
we'll get to that. But to start with, take me back
Yeah.
to your 12-year-old self.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
Where are you geographically? And what did you think you wanted to do when you got older?
Wow, that's a really good question. Geographically, I was in New Jersey, born and raised there.
The Garden State?
The Garden State, the beautiful Garden State. Although my neck of the woods in New Jersey is very suburban, residential, not a lot of farms happening. But yeah, 12-year-old me was in New Jersey. 12-year-old me did not like gardening at all. My grandmother gardened a little. Actually, she had a big garden, but it skipped my mom. So my grandmother, when I was really little, would take me around her garden, but when we moved houses at some point around when I was maybe 10 or 12, my mom was really excited to buy a house that had a little spot for a garden in it. And 12-year-old me worked for 1 hour outside and was like, that's it. I'm totally done. I'm done gardening forever. I didn't like the bugs. I didn't like the heat. So yeah, very, very different. What I sort of pictured for myself when I was that age was I wanted to like make a difference in the world. That was like a huge part of my narrative at the time was doing a lot of social service, a lot of community oriented work with like food pantries and things like that. I had no concept for what I wanted to do after college. When I got a little older and I started thinking about it, I think Peace Corps was the one thing that came to mind, which didn't end up working out because of the pandemic. But when I was 12, I just wanted to help other people.
Were you in more of a rural part of the state or an urban part? Or
Very, very suburban.
So
suburbs.
not a lot of farmland and huge.
Not a lot of farmland. No.
Okay.
Horse farms.
Yes.
But not a lot of vegetable farms where I was. Yeah.
And then did you work when you were in high school? Did you like have a school job?
I did not have a school job. I did a lot of community service. I was in an interfaith youth group that I enjoyed very much. What else did I do? It was starting to be kind of a while ago now, high school. But yeah, I didn't work a job. I just was super, super focused on my studies. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And then off to college.
Yeah.
And what was your major?
Yeah, my major was conflict analysis and resolution. And I concentrated in building peace in divided societies. So sounds totally different than what I ended up doing. But yeah, like I said, very focused on making a difference in the world. And I think the way I channeled that was like healing divides among people and trying to figure out why people fight and how we can sort of fix that and address that. And I loved all of my classes, my professors, and it was the most incredible, fascinating degree. And I think sort of the plan for people in that major, I went to college right outside of DC. So the plan is like you go to the UN or you go to the State Department or you join a peace building NGO or nonprofit. And there are only so many jobs doing that. And then the pandemic happened and everything international sort of shut down. But I think it builds a really good foundation for anything that I could have done in my life. And I think a lot of my farm work and gardening work is still informed by peace building.
Yeah, I'm sure. I love to plant and garden myself, and for me, I always find it such a therapeutic endeavor.
Yes. Yeah,
right?
totally.
So I think for a whole bunch of reasons, and I can see I can see the connection.
Yeah.
Between what you studied and what you do.
For sure.
So, is there something in your early life though that really helped shape what you do now? Do you think
I really love to cook.
Okay.
And cooking has been just so ingrained in my family culture and the way that we like being together and expressing our love for each other. It's just like food and cooking. And I like just grew up around very home, like scratch-made meals. And so I think it, in a way that I didn't think of at the time, but after I started farming, I was like, this makes sense. It's like discovering where food comes from has been a really big part of continuing that on for me, and sort of changing the way that I now cook for myself and other people based around seasons and stuff like that. So I think that has probably been the through line of like, I've always associated food with family and love and gratitude and warm, happy times. So yeah, continuing to explore that.
When I met you, I was so interested in our conversation because you're a Gen Z, and I think I remember sharing with you, I have a Gen Z daughter, and you were both in college during the pandemic, and I would love to just unpack how that impacted you, because I think it had a profound impact on so many people, as we know, in so many ways. All the kids who went to college, like as freshmen.
Oh my gosh.
You know, and
I know.
I mean, at least you and my daughter had a couple of years of sort of normalcy.
Yes.
And then how that shaped you. So I wondered if you might want to just spend a little time talking about that experience, because I think it's important.
It's hugely important. Yeah. And I do feel grateful. I was going into my senior year. I was at the end of my junior year going into my senior year. So it's like I had a college experience on campus when it happened. But yeah, it changed everything for me. Like I probably would have gone into the Peace Corps, which was the only thing I was really considering doing. But even like it really scared me. The idea of the Peace Corps, I was like, okay, time to go to some remote village in Africa and feel really alone and isolated, not know the language for 2 years. Like, but that's what I'm gonna do to make a difference in the world. And so having everything be shut down and having to sort of pivot is what allowed me to explore farming, because farming was the only thing that, like, you know, people could be outside safely. So my first farming year, like we as a crew, like didn't have to isolate among each other because we were all vaccinated and we knew like here's the rules of the house, and then we could be outside safely with volunteers who came. So it was one of the only things that like was still up and operating. And
but when you say you were farming, where were you doing that at that time?
In New Hampshire.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I did have to come home to finish college, to finish to the last semester virtually. I graduated as soon as I possibly could, but then I pivoted big time. And what inspired farming specifically was I did my senior thesis, my undergraduate thesis, on the ways that practicing farming for indigenous communities, how it heals post-genocidal trauma. Basically, that passes on through generations. So when indigenous farmers like reclaim these ways of farming, these ways of eating from, you know, the centuries and many thousands of years that they've been here, they feel a deeper connection to their culture and to the earth that is ultimately healing. So I did that paper and I graduated, and I was able to interview and study different indigenous farmers across North America. And I was like, well, I could probably practice what I preach a little bit. And so that's what inspired the move to farming. And I found a wonderful farm in New Hampshire that changed my life. So yeah, the pandemic, I have to be grateful for it because I would not be here if it hadn't happened. Yeah.
You head up to the farm in New Hampshire, and in your rural part of New Hampshire?
Like 5 minutes across the border from Massachusetts. So not as rural as it gets, but compared to New Jersey, rural.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so then what brings you to Maine?
Yeah, so I spent 2 years farming with that family in New Hampshire, and I learned so much. Like, you just don't even realize how much you're learning and absorbing. And then I said, I think I'm getting pretty good at this. Like, I think I understand this, and I'd love to have my own little pocket of the world, my own little corner that I can put these things to good use and sort of practice my skill. But I knew I didn't want to run a whole farm. I knew that I wanted to translate some of my experiences and my skills to people who don't have access to farms all the time. So I applied to be in the AmeriCorps, a sect of the AmeriCorps called Food Corps, which has since disbanded from AmeriCorps. They're their own thing now. And they do hands-on food and gardening education. So I knew I was like, school gardens, that's perfect. And that really resonated with me. I loved the idea of it. And I got super lucky with placement. I mean, as with any AmeriCorps service anywhere, it depends so much on the exact site that you get put at. And I got put at the perfect site, which was Geiger Elementary right here in Lewiston. They were right at the beginning of their gardening journey. They didn't have really anything, and they were like, we want it, we're open to it. So I did have my own little corner, so it worked out really nicely. I got to do whatever I wanted, and the administration there thought everything was wonderful, and they were so happy to just give the green light to get programs going. So that's how I ended up here in Maine.
That's so great.
Thank you.
And so did you work with the students as well? Was that part of the work that you did?
Yes. So I would do weekly classes. I focused on like pre-K to second grade, but I would occasionally do like a 5th and 6th grade activity or like something with the music class or with the art class or things like that. I would do after school cooking clubs. So bringing the students into every part of it was like a huge component of the mission. And in the wintertime too, I would go in their classrooms and we would do like healthy cooking and nutrition lessons. But as much as we could getting out in the garden, I had a hydroponics machine there too, which was super awesome.
They had one or you brought one?
They had one. They had one that had been like half assembled and was sitting in a dusty corner somewhere.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, let me please take this on. And it was so much fun. So getting to do that with the kids in the winter too. So yeah, lots and lots of student-facing time. Yeah.
It seems to me what you're describing is that you had a lot of buy-in from the school staff into the project, and that must be so important for this kind of work that you're doing.
It really can't exist without that buy-in. And my goal when I started at the school, like I said, like they didn't have anyone before me, and I was like, well, this is going to take a long time. Many years to have a fully functioning self-sustaining garden program. So let's just start with let's hit them with the most highly visible stuff we can hit them with. So I put the hydroponics tower right in the main lobby. I wanted everyone who walked in to see it. And then I worked with LA Arts and Isolo to get a big mural put in, which was still incredible that ended up happening. Because I was like, I want it to be so in your face, and I want people to have so many reasons to go out and enjoy the garden. And then when they start caring about it, that's when they'll care about the carrots that we harvested. So getting that buy-in was like, this involves everyone. If you can see it, you're involved in it. And I just made it so that they couldn't not see it. Yeah.
So that tells me how you came here. Why do you stay here?
Well, when I finished my AmeriCorps term last summer, I was debating moving, and I think one day I would like to be closer to New Jersey family again. But for right now, the idea of starting my life over again from scratch in another probably rural-ish town, I was like, I have roots here. And I have really strong connections to the school gardening movement that's happening in Maine. I don't know how it is in other states to compare, but it seems really strong here in Maine. People really care about, locally sourced food for their kids in schools, which is super important. So yeah, I was like, might as well stay and figure this business thing out. And then right when I started my business, and I came across the women's networking group and the Chamber of Commerce and all these wonderful resources. I was like, whoa, there's so much happening, and it feels so like rich in resources for someone like me. So yeah, I'm glad I stuck around.
I am too. Yeah, no, this is
you.
great.
Yeah.
Let's pivot a little bit to your life as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Because I think you are an entrepreneur and you've been able to build a startup or a venture based on your passion.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And it's something that I think a lot about in thinking about how we can serve small businesses and entrepreneurs. And it sounds to me that everything was kind of leading to this from what you're describing.
Yeah.
But I think at some point you finished your AmeriCorps project and you were like, I love this. So maybe just talk a little bit about what that was like for you.
Yeah. So I felt like I loved the work, and I felt really grateful that I got to sort of check off what I wanted out of that chapter of my life, which is like have my corner and prove what I can do. And I was really impressed at what I could do. I spent 2 years and I was like, whoa. So then starting my own thing was always something that I knew I needed to do. My dad has his own company. He now works with my mom. So it's sort of like a family business. And just seeing him from the time I was little, starting his own thing, I was like, there's no question it's what I'm going to do one day. And for some reason, I thought I needed more time, more experience, more maturity, more blah, 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 blah. And last summer, I was like looking at some farm jobs at some nonprofit places that sounded really cool. But I was just like kind of like about it. And my dad was like, you can just do it. Like you can just start your own thing. And I was like, I can't. That's so crazy. Like I can't do that. So it took a couple of, weeks and months of just like planting that seed and then being totally cool with the fact that I'm going to do something insane. And people might not understand it, and people my age might have, feelings about me doing something totally unconventional, but I just decided to go for it. And then it was a process of like, yeah, this is going to succeed. There's so much of being an entrepreneur is just telling yourself the right narratives and learning how to believe them. So it definitely took some inner work and changing my landscape internally. But I got there, and it's not linear, but it's a good process. Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
Are you by yourself? Have you had interns? Have you had other?
No interns. I'm totally by myself.
Wow.
And I'm like less than a year in. So I think having interns or something in the future would be super cool. But for right now, I'm a one-woman show.
And what kind of resources have you taken advantage of? You don't even have to say just locally, but I mean, I know you're less than a year, but
yeah.
What are some of the tools that you've taken advantage of?
Yeah, I mean, mostly it's just connections for me and networking. Like through networking, I met folks at AVCOG, the Androscoggin Valley Council of Governments, who do the free business consulting, and that's great. Similar with CEI, they do free business consulting. So just sort of, if anyone offers a free business coach, I'm like, yep. So I'm signed up in several places for that. Working with Apex also to become like a certified woman-owned business and do government opportunities. They've been really wonderful. Like there are folks here, like if I were trying to do this alone and try to fill out all those applications to be a government contractor, I would have given up. But there's people who will schedule time with me and help me through it and encourage me, and that's really wonderful. So yeah, mostly networking, just talking to people, and someone knows someone who can do this, and it's been really organic and pretty cool.
That's great.
Yeah.
That Apex Accelerator, understanding what qualifies as government contracting is a little bit mind-blowing. I think so many people, like caterers, it's like, yeah, you can have a government contract for that. Like, they're pretty inspirational, I think. They do a lot of really good work.
They do, yeah.
Yeah. So what makes a good garden, in your opinion?
Ooh. What makes a good garden is it just has to be a place that you want to be in. And I think for so many people that can look so different, but if you don't want to be in your garden, then your garden's going to die. I follow this one farmer homesteader on YouTube, and she says that your garden has to have a chair. It doesn't matter what it looks like. It could be a tree stump, it could be a bench, whatever. It has to have a place that you can sit and look at your garden. So I think that's the most most important part is you want to be there. So for some people, it's lots of vegetables. For me, one day it will be lots of vegetables. But for some people, it's flowers or just a spot that brings them that sort of tranquility. So I would say a good garden, if you're going, you should have pollinators there no matter what, all the time. So interplanting, bringing the bees there from April to October, and that will always make your vegetables better. But if you don't want vegetables, you should have bees there anyway. So yeah, you should want to be there and the bees should want to be there.
Do you encourage people to use a lot of native plants to their location and region? And some of this, there's even some like native seed sellers, I think, right? There's a business there's a whole process to managing seeds, and you probably know more about it than I do, but I thought it was really cool, and I was like, I'm definitely going to take advantage of that.
Yeah, there's a lot of just places locally in this region. There's the Wild Seed Project.
Yes.
I've been partnering with Maine Audubon. They have a nursery down in Falmouth. I do not claim to be an expert on native plants, but I've been dabbling, and it's really important to be, establishing those species again. Often they're like drought resistant, they're deer resistant naturally. They'll come back, they're perennial, they're year after year, and they're beautiful. So I think introducing people to native species when possible is great. And there's even like a whole world that I could read more books about that I don't know too much about, but more perennial native like edibles, not just flowering things. So there's so many more things that I want to learn. I just did a project at Baxter Brewing at the pub up right in Lewiston, and they were so clear from the beginning that we want native plants everywhere because we are a Maine-based, native to Maine brewery and company, and we're so proud to be Maine-based, and we want to highlight natives. And I was like, this is so great. Like, this is a great idea. Thematically, it ties in, and it's going to show all the people who walk in their doors, like, their commitment to local ecosystems. So yeah,
I think we're seeing that a lot in Maine. We're seeing with the Millers, the Amber Lamke, the Maine Grains Project, where everything is grown and harvested in Maine, and I think Blue Ox Malt House, and we're growing hops now, so we can truly have like fully grown and harvested in Maine beer and products. So I think Maine is really making a name for itself in the food space and ergo growing things space. So
totally.
When people hear garden design, I think they have a very, like the formulaic, like very well-defined, I guess I'd think of like a formal garden design, but what does that mean to you?
This is interesting because I'm not formally trained. I didn't go to school for this or anything. So to me, garden design is something that has a place for people in it, which I think, is just like a through line in my philosophy of like, you have to design yourself in the garden of where you're going to be, how you want to be hanging out with your friends and loved ones, and how the plants interact with those spaces. So at a school, putting in like an outdoor education stump circle, and making sure that the beds are places, like the garden beds are big enough that a class of 16 students can look into the bed without crowding each other. Because when you have 16 5-year-olds crowding each other around a bed, it can get very chaotic very quickly. So making sure that there's enough space that everyone feels comfortable. So that's what I think of when I think of garden design, is like, how do we maximize human comfort, and how do we make it so that the plants can be happy there, but the people also want to enjoy it as well.
So talk a little bit about your process of when a school or an organization contacts you and they want to use your services. What's your process like?
Yeah, the most important thing for me to establish is their goals, because I don't think any garden would be sustainable if I come in, very formal garden design, and I'm like, here's what you can do with your space. Like, it depends so much on what they tell me they want to do. Do they want to build a garden curriculum and have it be a demonstration educational space? Because that would look so different. Do they want to work with their cafeteria manager to like produce food, like capital P, capital F? Do they want to be doing that? Because then we'd be looking into like micro farm sort of situation. We'd be doing undercover farming, like caterpillar tunnels, greenhouses, whatever. That would look so different. Do they want just like a little therapeutic space where maybe the counselors can take the kids out for one-on-ones, or a different sort of picnic setup? So figuring out what your goals are and what they feel their realistic capacities are is the most important part. And from there, just figuring out what the space can hold, figuring out what their budgeting needs are, what supplies we can maybe get donated to the school, and who's going to be sort of in charge of the garden or running it, and making sure they have the tools and equipment and any training they need to feel like they can handle it. So making sure the garden fits with what they feel like they want to take on.
Do you try to bring grants into the process? Do you look at the grant landscape to see, or is your goal to potentially be listed as a contractor on a grant, or are grants never part of the process?
Yeah, grants are definitely part of the process. I think the ideal situation would be to be listed as a contractor under a grant. But definitely, I mean, my experience with AmeriCorps, I was applying for grants all the time. And I got many, many grants for Geiger's Garden. And it was funded that way. So I understand like the institutional budgeting landscape, and I'm, here to help with grants. Over at Edward Little in Auburn, we just put together a big grant for their greenhouse installation. So I, am a contractor who can help write up the application, who can help talk about what it's going to look like, what our goals for the project are, so we can write it into an application. So yeah, grants are part of it.
Yeah, I remember thinking that that's such a unique skill set to be able to actually do the hands-on
grant writing.
The grant writing, but actually do the work itself of installing the garden, really.
Yeah.
What about when you think or work with potentially architects or designers? Is that a group of professionals that you work with? Is it something that is in building plans factored into the design? Can you be specified, so to speak, in that, or have you investigated that?
I think it could be. I've investigated it. Just like, yeah, that's a cool thing. Because some of my business coaches and stuff have mentioned that. I'm like, yes, like I love that idea. Or getting into like housing development projects in the early phases and putting in community gardens at the onset. So I think it's a great idea. Haven't delved into it yet as much as I want to, but I think it's a really great path in the future.
What is a typical size of a garden that are they all sizes? Is it?
They are all sizes. So like the Edward Little project is going to be, it's a 30 by 40 foot greenhouse. We're outfitting the entire inside, figuring out how much space goes to garden beds, how much space goes to tables for students to sit at, that sort of thing. And then eventually maybe doing the outside and landscaping. So that will creep out a lot. But something like Baxter, like they just had a couple beds. I don't know how large it was, but they were sort of limited to like, they already had stuff in their hardscaping. We're just going to put stuff there. It really depends on space. I think you can do a garden with any amount of space. People don't have to feel limited by like, oh, I just have this little strip of grass outside. Like we can still plant some stuff,
Well, this is a city of community gardens. I think it's one of the things I love most about it.
Yeah.
Do you typically lead groups of volunteers through many of these projects? Is that part of your work as well?
Yeah, and I really love that part because my work, both at the farm and then with Food Corps, definitely inspired me to like get people involved. Like there's no reason that I have to be out there alone doing it if someone wants to be involved. So like with Baxter, I presented them, I was like, hey, I'm a one-woman company. I can totally go get a group of high schoolers to come help me because that'd be fun for them. And Baxter was like, we would love to make this a project for our employees. And I was like, awesome. So they sent out a bunch of guys who like make the beer and they gave them a couple of hours to just hang out outside with me, which they loved. Yeah. And it was so great to be working with them. So yeah, facilitating those volunteer days, which I think is especially important for schools too, of like, I will come in and do garden lesson classes, or I've led building days for Geiger when I was there, of like making sure that a 6-year-old knows how to be safe when they're picking up a concrete paver. Like helping them feel a part of it, I think is so crucial from the beginning, because again, like I don't think they would have that sense of ownership and that same sense of care over it if some vendor just came in and was like, here's your garden. Right. So doing it with them is an important part of the process.
I think that's so important. I think instilling that idea of building community and being a part of your community and being part of its well-being is such an important part of, I think, as important as any school curriculum. So,
Completely.
one of the things that strikes me that you must have to maybe overcome when you are presenting a proposal is the maintenance after after you leave. Like, who's going to weed the garden?
Yeah.
And weeding can be therapeutic, but I imagine that's probably not what they necessarily want to hear.
Yeah, exactly. So the maintenance piece, I think for a place like schools, like I don't want them to become dependent on me. Like I'm happy to help if they want a longer term contract. But the idea is that I give them a nice push into the harbor so that it can be self-sustaining. And for places like school gardens, like that's why establishing their goals is so important, because if they know that they don't have anyone to come over the summer, and they're like, that means we can't have a garden. And if there's sort of that fear around it, I'm like, we'll do 0 summer crops. You won't see a tomato, you won't see a cucumber, you won't see a zucchini. Like we'll do things that you literally won't have to show up to the garden for all summer, and you will come back in the fall and it will mostly be okay. So figuring out exactly what people can handle. But I also like to facilitate like a garden committee or some sort of steering committee of teachers, parents, whoever's involved, to be like, let's have a rotating, task chore list so that people feel like they can come and it's not too much work for any one person. That's sort of where school gardens fall apart, is one person takes it all on and then they can't, and then it just leads to burnout, and then the garden goes neglected. So making it a group community effort as much as possible.
Okay, so you're kind of a new Mainer, right?
Yeah.
You're new to Maine. Less than a couple of years?
Almost 3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've been here a bit. Where's your favorite place to get outside and just enjoy nature?
That's such a good question.
You're probably like, in a museum. I'm outside in nature all the time.
It's my job, right? I have really been appreciating Pineland this season.
Yeah.
They're like so close to here. They have like beautiful gardens that are just like free admission, So they have, their little enclosed like 1 acre garden area that I just love to walk around in and look at all the flowers. So that's really great. They also do like pick stuff in the summer that I've done. I love them. I love Rang Pond a lot. Also super close to here, but it feels like if I want to go for a walk, that's great, or go for a swim, or just sit at a picnic table and read. It doesn't feel like too much of a obstacle to get out to Rang Pond. So there's a lot of great little gems around here.
I love hearing everybody's recommendations, and they're all kind of different. And how about try to imagine a Saturday where you don't have to maintain a garden. You don't have to do anything. What's that look like for you? There's no chore list. It's just like a total day to yourself to do what you want.
That's so great. I love days like that. Go to a farmer's market.
Okay. There's a really great one here.
There is a really great one here. So definitely go to a farmer's market. I go early. I go as soon as it opens. And then I love spending the afternoon like experimenting with that produce. But I love just wandering around. I love a good used bookstore. A used bookstore is the best ever. Or like a thrift store or something fun. Calling all my family at home. And I don't know. Going for a walk is a nice thing when the weather's nice. Watching a movie. I'm very relaxed. I don't need much to be happy.
Where I live in Farmington, we have this amazing movie theater. So it's really old and it's really inexpensive. It's super affordable. And I've just been like, for years I never went to the movies. Going to the movies in a theater with popcorn is a really fun experience. It's like, I've done it before, of course, but it feels very new because for a long time I lived like 45 minutes from a movie theater.
Whoa.
You just wait for it to come out, and there's something about seeing something in the old-fashioned way, I guess, instead of on your TV at home.
Agree.
Which is really nice to me. Talk about just being a young professional in this region. It's because you're probably not going to work every day with the same staff. And is that a good thing? Is that not a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I always pictured running my own thing. So I've really been loving that. But sometimes it's like, oh, I'm usually not really seeing people. So those networking events have been huge for me to feel socially sort of grounded and to be aware that there's a community around me when it doesn't always feel that way when I'm like in my computer at home, in front of my computer at home. But yeah, there's a really great community of young people who often I find are also from out of state. So that's something that we have in common, who are working in doing food systems work. So the AmeriCorps sort of pipeline, AmeriCorps and Food Corps pipeline is pretty strong in this region. And there's lots of cool people who have come doing farm work or orchard work or whatever, are now working in school cafeterias. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm going to stay here. So yeah, that's what those are like my little niche of people. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Any final thoughts on the work that you're doing, where you'd like to see yourself moving forward, or anything else that we should know about the great work that you do, which is so meaningful? And
thank you so much. I mean, these were wonderful questions. I feel like everything is out there. Yeah, I don't know. I see myself, I see this company really growing. Like, this region has really given me such a warm reception to this so far, and this is just year one. So I feel really excited for the rest of this growing season and for future seasons, and I think it's going to be a really cool adventure.
Well, let's just let people know how they can reach out to you, and what would you like to share with our listeners?
Absolutely. So pretty easy to find. My website is seedstosmiles.com. Email is Lily, Lily, @seedstosmiles.com. I'm on Facebook. The company is on Facebook, at least. I'm on LinkedIn. Yeah, reach out.
Thank you so much. Thanks for making this a more beautiful place to live and work.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
We're gonna get to know you. We're gonna talk it out. We're gonna get to know you and what you're all about. We're gonna get to know just what makes you feel alive. We're gonna get to know how you build, lead, and thrive.
Build, Lead, and Thrive. Voices of the Androscoggin.